Hello all and welcome, and I'm the MGTOW philosopher, and in this video I would like to talk about this article I came across in Mel magazine. And you see this picture of this poor bastard reading a book that says, Spreading Misandry. Yeah, so it's apparently a men's rights activist book, and this guy is a poor bastard who's feeling bad about having been a men's rights activist, because men's rights activists, of course, spread hatred. They teach that women hate men, and no, that's not the case. Look at all these fingers pointing at him, shaming him. Shame on you, man, for being a men's rights activist, as they are female rights activists. It's hilarious. So shame on you for being what we are. It's okay for us to champion the rights of women because women are an oppressed class. But it's not okay for you to champion and represent the rights of men because men are in no way oppressed. Bullshit. Okay, so let's see this article. Let's see this piece of crap that I wouldn't wipe my ass with. I was a men's rights activist. One man's journey from misogyny to feminism. You went the wrong way, pal. You went right when you should have went left. Oh, God, I have a feeling this is going to really bother me, this story. But that's why I read it. And that's why I comment on it, so it'll make you laugh instead of cry. Let's begin, shall we? I discovered the men's rights movement when I was 22. Oh, boy, okay. Working at a bookstore in downtown Kelowna, British Columbia. I was trying to earn some money before starting my second year at university. Good. You're a guy, you're working your way through school. Well, I don't know, working right through school. You want to make some extra money, but you were working. That's good. Young man has a job, some ambition. Excellent. I was in the self-help section facing our most popular books, arranging them so their covers and not their spines faced outward, when I noticed the title, Spreading Misandry, the teaching of contempt for men in popular culture. Oh, good! You found a good book, because that's true, because hatred of men is part and parcel of modern culture. It's everywhere, from the media to the government to the education system. Great that you found that book. Wonderful. I had never seen the word misandry before. Okay, well, not that well educated, apparently. Either that or very well sheltered, or both. But I was able to deduce its meaning immediately. Misogyny is hatred of women. The misandry must be hatred of men. Of course, that doesn't exist. No, women don't hate men. It's just men that hate women, you think. Why do you think that feminists are trying to teach this narrative that they don't hate men, but men hate them? Right, you see, it's to set up a superior-inferior scenario, okay? I had never seen the word misandry before, but I was able to do this meeting, yeah. Well, that kind of edgy and countercultural, I thought, that's kind of edgy and counterculture. I had never seen anything that said I, a white heterosexual male, was actually the one being discriminated against. Yeah, you won't either, because publishers and the media and the government and people in the education system who are mostly leftists and dumb fucking ex-hippies will not tell you that. It was so provocative. The cover art was a white guy in a business suit being strangled by his necktie. Which is pretty close to true. I was in that strange formative period at 22. Jesus Christ, you must have lived a sheltered childhood when you're trying to find your adult identity, flirting with contrarian worldviews. Oh, that's a contrarian world. Well, it might actually be a contrarian worldview. It's true, but it's certainly contrary to the narrative that's out there. So I thought, what the hell? I'll read this. I bought it hook, line, and sinker. Good, you should have, because it's absolutely true. Oh, I love how he's saying I bought it hook, line, and sinker, meaning that it was a scam. It's bullshit, but I bought it anyway. That's what he's inferring. You dummy. You went the wrong way. I was studying political science at the time, so I had never thought about social processes like misogyny and sexism. Political science? Oh, God. It was revelatory. The book talked about how pop culture demonized straight white men because they're the only demographic left it's acceptable to make fun of. That's true. Can't you think for yourself? Don't you see these truths around you? Don't you, when you hear the truth and then you compare that, what you've heard, to the reality around you, and then you kind of compare the two and say, is this true? Is it not true? Or are you just one of these meatheads accepts what you hear because it sounds good? I mean, if he went the other way, if he went the feminist, I think we know what the answer to that question is. The chapter that stood out the most was about how men are portrayed as these bumbling oafs on television, especially sitcoms. Yeah, they want it to be sitcoms specifically, so people will get into the habit of laughing at men, and then they won't take men very seriously. Their wives, meanwhile, are these enlightened people who have to endure their idiot husbands. It's really the other way around in reality. Pop culture conveyed men as court jesters, the fools. What is this past? I mean, I guess at that time it conveyed them, because it still does. The women were the empowered ones, the voices of reason, which is laughable. I mean, that's true, but it's laughable what they are when you think about it. Home Improvement with Tim Allen speaking in grunts was a primary example. Yeah, that's a very good example. I mean, that guy, he couldn't fix anything. But he could build cars. They did make him able to build fucking cars, but everything else he tried to do blew up in his face. He fell through floors. He fell out windows. This guy was the worst Mr. Fix-It on the fucking planet. But he was a good mechanic, but he couldn't fix anything else. Looking back, I realized Home Improvement was actually reproducing 1950s gender dynamics. Was it? You idiot. Really? Did the TV shows in the 1950s make the husband look like a fucking moron? I don't think so. Although the only thing that was reproduced was that the mother was a housewife. And by the way, didn't she start working in the series? Didn't she like get jobs or something like that? And by the end she was working or something. I mean, I don't know. I didn't think it was a very good show. I don't remember everything about it. Anyway, let's continue. It was about a ridiculously successful man who had his own TV show, was his own boss. No, he wasn't actually his own boss. I mean, he worked for that tool company that he made the show for. But yeah, he was a successful guy. So what? So what? Good Lord, there are plenty of successful men in the world. How is that such a bad thing, you idiot? That's actually a representation of truth. And took over the entire garage so he could spend all his time fixing up cars. So what? What was his wife going to do in the garage, huh? What did she want to do in the garage? Who cares if he took over the garage? Did she want to spend time in the garage? You idiot. Now, you sound like a feminist looking back on this stuff. Talking about how dumb you were back then. No, you were right then. Now you're wrong. His wife, however, was relegated to the domestic sphere. What do you mean relegated? That was her job. I mean, he was the one making all the money. And by the way, all the kids were old enough that she could have gotten a job if she wanted to, but she didn't want to. What's wrong with that? You sound like a feminist. You sound like a dyed-in-the-wool feminist. Like there's something wrong with being a fucking housewife. What if she wanted to be a housewife? Did you ever think of that? I mean, did you stop and look at their relationship? She was in charge. I mean, even though he went out and made the money, she was the boss. And what she said went. So you're telling me that she couldn't have gotten a job if she didn't want to? Recreated 1950 gender dynamics. It recreated the gender dynamics that existed throughout the whole fucking human history, you moron. And even though she had a job, was always incidental to her role as a mother. That's because he made a hell of a lot more money. The person who, if he's making 80% of the money and she's making 20% of the money, or he's making 90% of the money and she's making 10% of the money, what the fuck you think's gonna happen? He should be doing half the housework? Get the fuck out of you, simp moron. But it took me a long time to realize that. That's because it's bullshit, okay? Was always incidental to her role as mother and wife. Incidental. Yeah, okay, so what? So what? He made the most money. She was the woman. She's got the breasts for breastfeeding. And he's the one making the most money. I'm sure if she had been making the most money, things would have been different, but it wasn't because he was making the most money, you moron. I'm not sure which came first, my sense men were losing their place in society or my reading spreading misandry, but I do know the book crystallized that feeling. The bookstore had this policy that allowed employees to essentially check out a book. And it's pretty nice. That's a good policy. It's like essentially you can do the same at a library, so big whoop-de-doo-dah, and report back to their colleagues about it. The idea was this would increase the literacy of the staff so we could all sell books more effectively. It's not a bad idea, really. So I came back a week later and told them about spreading misandry. Usually the book reports elicited conversation, but mine was met with stern silence. Of course. Of course, because most of your workmates were probably women in a bookstore, and even if some of them were men, or most of them were men, they've all been indoctrinated into this bullshit nonsense from the left about how men are oppressors and women are somehow being oppressed, even though they make more money now than men. You dumb cunt, you. You know, this guy has some valid points, although some parts are a little extreme. I said, oh, the staff members present were women. Yeah, that's why you were met with silence. They all know it's true. They're in on it, baby. They're benefiting. They know it's true. Of course they kept their mouths shut. Most of them university students, gender studies or something like that. You know, they're all feminists. Of course, they're women. They are feminists. Some older women. And they started warily eyeing me, each other as I talked. I thought it was going to be my Sermon on the Mount, and I was revealing something everyone needed to know. Oh, no, they're intolerant, dude. They're leftists. All feminists are leftists, which means they're indoctrinated into dogma. Dogma is such that is knowledge or wisdom or teachings about the systematic belief of something in which it's all true all the time. There's no questioning, no debating. It's 100% reality. You can't question it. So, no. Instead, a woman in her 50s looked at me about 40 seconds of awkward silence before the manager said, okay, thanks for that. Big surprise, they were intolerant of your views. It was one of the most cringeworthy moments from that period in my life. Yes, and you saw it and you said, oh, geez, I don't know if I want to have the strength and the courage to endure that. So I'm probably going to change my views and become a feminist because it's easier. Yeah, pussy. At the time, though, it was just confirmation of my misandry. Right, because you believe that men should have equal rights to women, you are a woman hater. Well, yeah, that's a good way to stop men from wanting to have equal rights. Teach them that. Why would they be so angry if they weren't threatened by what I was saying? Right, you dummy. You should have kept with that instinct because it was correct. My coworkers were a lot less friendly to me after that. Imagine that. You had a difference of opinion and now they hate you. Shouldn't that tell you something, you idiot? You moron, you. If you thought the Red Sox sucked, do you think people on your staff or who are your fellow coworkers who like the Red Sox would somehow hate you? You idiot. It's an ideological sinkhole that they are believing in. It stops them, limits them. It forbids them from being friends or acquaintances or acquainting or talking with someone like you. There are built-in safeguards in dogmatic systems of this nature, which are really religions, because the left and feminism is a religion, that are built in to protect people who believe it from exposing themselves to outside knowledge. There is intolerance built into it, and they will automatically dislike you if you don't believe in their dogmatic teachings. About 3 weeks later, I was fired. Of course! I have absolutely no evidence that it was connected to my book summary. It might have been that I was kind of an asshole back then. I was rude and had a tendency to snap at people I considered less intelligent. I was so confused at that time in my life. Not so smart, apparently, if you went feminist. Yeah, moron. So unsure of myself that I was especially susceptible to something like men's rights. Yeah, men's rights is so divisive and it's so insidious. Ooh, MRA, ooh, as opposed to feminism. You pinhead, you. You just flipped the script so you could get pussy, you idiot. My politics were all over the map. Yeah, you just wanted to be socially accepted. That's all, you wimp. You didn't have the courage to stick with what was right and true. I thought I was a libertarian at the same time that I was more deeply exploring my Catholicism. And they're both religions, by the way, which is about as confused as you get. Being a libertarian doesn't really jibe with the dictates of an authoritarian, hierarchical church. Authoritarian. Why don't you look at feminism today, you idiot? It's an authoritative movement. It's cultural Marxism. Basically, all the knowledge is given from on high, from an authority, so you're not allowed to question it in any way, shape, or form. Growing up, I loved guns and hunting and wanted to be in law enforcement. Then in university, I realized I hated hunting and I was suspicious of law enforcement. Big surprise. You went to university in the West, which teaches you to essentially, these days, distrust law enforcement. Later, I discovered I suffered from clinical depression. You discovered. You're so confused and all over the place, you don't know who you are. I'm not surprised you got depressed. There's a lot of literature on how socially extremist groups such as men's rights or white supremacy or feminism exploit young men whose lives are in turmoil, their beliefs in conflict. Spreading misandry was a recruitment piece, and I was an easy target. Yeah, That was a communist recruitment piece there. Nothing at all like feminism. My girlfriend and I broke up at the end of that summer, and I was devastated. Yeah, pussy. What are you doing with a girlfriend at the age of 22 anyway? At that age, you shouldn't have a girlfriend. You should be hopping around from woman to woman to woman, having as much fun as you possibly can. You shouldn't have a girlfriend until you're at least 25 years of age. You got to get that shit out of your system and have as much fun as possible and expose yourself to as many new and different women as possible. My girl, okay, oh, you were devastated. Boo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. That's because you didn't learn how to pump them and dump them, baby. They're not that important. Pump them and dump them. You pump and dump enough of them, they don't mean anything to you, and that's the point you want to reach. Total and utter apathy with women. Then they can reject you, you can reject them. Who gives a shit? The majority of my friends were women. Ah, you pussy, you. This guy's such a pussy. Was your mommy a single mommy? Did you grow up with a single mommy? And you were more comfortable around women? I see. What you really need was some manning up and a male role model. But unfortunately, never had that. But I started withdrawing from them and hanging out with the guys. Oh my God. Yes, that's such a horrible crime. You spent time around men. Oh no. My relationship with women became less about friendship and more about who I could hook up with. That's how it should be, you meathead. The problem is you moved away from that because you're so weak mentally. I sought out other men who felt like me. Generally, that's what you do. You have friends who are like you. You don't get along too well with people who aren't like you. That's why, generally speaking, your friends will be like you. Duh. This was in the Web 1.0 pre-social media days, so it was mostly chat rooms or poorly written proto-blogs on Angel Fire, AOL, and GeoCities, all of them fueled by rage and fear. Sounds a lot like Reddit these days. I read a little bit of The Myth of Male Power by Warren Farrell. Dude, Warren Farrell is a smart fucking guy, and the whole thing about male power is a myth. And I adopted this rhetorical trick. Many men's rights activists employ. Rhetorical trick. That sounds like critical theory, dummy. Can you explain why it's a rhetorical trick? Oh, you can't. That's just something a feminist told you, and you came to believe it. I'm not a feminist. I'm not a men's rights activist, I would say. I'm an egalitarian. Yeah. Egalitarianism is bullshit too, pal. Men and women are not the same, you dummy. I didn't encounter the term men's rights until 2005, right before social media really took off. I'd Google men's oppression or anti-feminism. Anti-feminism is just feminism, you meathead. You people need to watch my video. Anti-feminism is just feminism. It's just a new wrapper for old bullshit. It's a bunch of old, hagged-out lesbo and old, hagged-out women who, some of them, like men, many of them, just hagged out, and they're tired of feminism, and a lot of younger chicks, too, trying to jump on the bandwagon because they see feminism is no longer popular, that it gets them a sideways look when they say they're a feminist. So now they say they're anti-feminist, but they're really just feminists. They're just not third wavers, that's all. And find anything I was looking for on people's blog spot sites in the comments and pre-Reddit sites like Fark and, of course, 4chan. Every once in a while, I'd stumble across MRAs advocating killing feminists. Well, those are crazy people. And you're going to have crazy extremists on the fringes in all movements. And I think to myself, that's insane. That's right. And that's why you don't associate those people with the majority. That's just like when a person in society kills someone, that person doesn't represent the majority. That's just an outlier. You have them in all groups. You have them everywhere. It doesn't mean they're representative of the majority. But then I'd do what a lot of MRAs do. I'd say, those voices are on the fringe. They are, you idiot. And argue they didn't speak for the movement as a whole. They don't, you idiot. That's just something feminists say to invalidate movements like the MRA. My real life was entirely devoted to school, so my men's rights activism occurred exclusively in the classroom. Oh, you must have been unpopular, you idiot. You shouldn't do that at college. You'll get too much pushback. We talk about the Equal Rights Amendment in political science class, and I'd say, well, what about men? We talk about feminist epistemology. Feminist epistemology? That's an oxymoron. Feminists do not use logic or reason, please, in philosophy class. Feminists make batshit crazy, horrible philosophers. There are no good female philosophers. The last one was Ayn Rand, and she's been dead a long time, okay? There's a reason most philosophers are men. And I'd say, doesn't anyone care about the way men see the world? I saw myself as more than just a provocateur. That's pretty provocative, even in 2005. I stayed away from sociology my first few years. Good, because sociology is not a real science. It's just something created by the Frankfurt School, basically to push socialism. That's all sociology is. It's a way to push socialism and take the study of social systems, to take the study of socialism, to take it and make it into, I'm going to morph the word into sociology, and it's the study of social systems. It's socialism, okay? There is no such thing as social sciences. It's bullshit. Social science classes were just put forth to push socialism, communism. Sociology is not a science. Get the fuck out of here. My first few years, because those classes were predominantly women, you really just wanted to get fucked, didn't you? And I shared a belief common among sociology is not a science. Fucking A. Psychology is barely a science, and I'd still call that mostly a pseudoscience. Sociology is not a fucking science. You pinhead, you. Engineering, tech. People that sociology wasn't real science. It isn't real science. I just said that, you pinhead, you. That sociology is real science. It was just about feelings and how men are the root of all evil. That's the truth. That's the truth. Back in the day, the Frankfurt School wanted to essentially put communist teaching programs in every single university in the world. And they started with the United States. And they developed socialism, and then they taught it at the University of Columbia in New York. And once they taught enough people and brought enough, and then once this system got codified and accepted, and then you could get degrees in it, and then you get bachelor and PhD, and masters and PhD, and then you have all these people who study socialism now, called sociology, and now it's at every fucking university on the fucking planet, basically. It's a bunch of nonsense. Nonsense. Well, not in every university on the planet. It depends on the country, but every fucking Western country. It's insidious stuff, buddy. That's what's insidious. But I took an introductory sociology course as an upperclassman. Big mistake. We had these discussions about feminism, patriarchal institutions. I thought it was sociology, study societies. Oh, no, it's about socialism. And I kept thinking to myself, I don't oppress women. Why am I being attacked? Because you are a white male. You are a male. You are the person they need to destroy to take over the world. Why am I the victim in this new feminist order? I despise sociology. I'm glad you did. You should have kept despising it. I graduated in 2006 with a political science degree. Good luck using that. And spent a couple years doing odd jobs, bartender, tuxedo salesman. Yeah, you're really making good use of that political science degree. Soon I realized I wanted to do academic work. Oh, Lord. Oh, geez. So, of course, you're going to become a leftist. It seems like anybody that gets into academia 9 times out of 10 is going to become a fucking leftist. Yeah, academic work. Basically, be a useless person. I see. Specifically studying men and masculinity. Oh, really? Specifically studying men and masculinity. So I re-enrolled in some sociology courses. Oh, so you didn't like the real world, and you're a pretty useless human being. So you decided to go back to school and study something else. So you could basically get a cushy job as an academic. I see. I was like, I'll use my academic qualifications to talk about men's rights issues. I'll grit my teeth and listen to the feminists and read their stupid books. Then I'll go my own way. You go your own way. Yeah, right. And you became a feminist. Things didn't go as planned. The first semester, I took Intro to Gender Theory. What the hell? Oh, my God. Why don't they just call it feminist theory? Because none of these classes that use the term gender are in any way about teaching anything about men except how they're evil. And the teacher asks, what does gender mean to you? What do you mean, what does it mean? I got a cock. She's got a pussy. That's it, you dumb bitch. Everybody talked about their lived experiences as women or gay men, which it was my turn. I said, I'm here to offer man's point of view on gender. The instructor, a woman, of course, smiled at you condescendingly. She smiled and said, well, you must love our textbooks then. I looked at the syllabus and saw masculinities. Of course, all these books are about talking about how men are oppressors and how they're evil. And Men and Boys by Raywin Connell, both about gender from the perspectives of men's lived experience. Of course, these men are probably feminists. I just thought, well, shit. I read them, and it didn't take long for my men's rights beliefs to start falling away because you're a weak-minded pussy who has a low IQ and can't think for yourself. And you're very open and easily indoctrinated because you were probably raised by a single mother if your father was there, he was a pussy. They didn't stand up to all the empirical evidence I was finally reading. Oh, please, these gender studies courses don't teach empirical evidence. They just teach feelings, and they use the word fact at the end, and if you're dumb enough to believe it, great. And a lot of people are. Research that was informed by feminist theory. Feminist theory, that's not the actual scientific meaning of theory, which is fact. That's hypothesis. Informed by hypothesis. How would it need to be informed by a hypothesis if it's fact, if it's empirically correct, you idiot? And offered actual solutions. Actual solutions to who? Men or women? You pinhead. Men are socialized to be stoic, rational beings. The only emotions we're allowed are anger and joy. Wrong. What do you mean allowed? I feel whatever the hell I want, pal. If people don't like it, they can kiss my motherfucking ass. And in a precious few instances, we're allowed to cry like our sports team loses. As an MRA, I always believed it was women and feminism putting men in a box. But this feminist textbooks not only validated the crisis of masculinity, they pointed out men are the biggest polices of masculinity. Men beat each other down for being girly, for liking sewing or barking or baking or crying. Yeah, there's a reason for that, you idiot, because those are women's activities. And yeah, if you like sewing or baking, you're a faggot. That's true. What the fuck are you doing these things for? The only reason that these books are advocating you do these things is because women want to make men more feminine, because masculine traits make men more successful and competitive, and women don't want that, you pinhead. For being faggots, you gotta man up. You can't be a pussy, right? Right, but you can be a pussy. That's okay. That's fine. You can be a poofter. You can be a pussy. You can be a faggot. You can be whatever you want. MRAs and feminists were acknowledging the same problems, but the MRAs weren't locating the right cause, which of course is men. The feminists, all this, it's all about men. Oh, the fault is men. Of course the fault is men. The fault is that not women trying to push feminism, feminist viewpoints, and feminist ways of acting and being onto people who are not women and trying to feminize them. Idiot. What an idiot this guy is. The feminists pointed out, no, actually, this is rooted in the same patriarchal institutions that are harming women. Patriarchal institutions are harming women. Really? 65% of people attending college are women. 87% of suicides are men. Oh, really? If a man and a woman apply for a job, the woman is 2 times more likely to get the job. Where's the patriarchy I'm supposed to be seeing? Yeah, affirmative action for women. 85% of welfare goes to women, not men. I'm wondering where that patriarchy is. There's 10 times more treatment for breast cancer than there is for prostate cancer, even though they occur in about equal numbers in both men and women. If you go homeless, how many homeless are women? About 5 to 10%? Where is this patriarchy that's oppressing women? If there was a patriarchy, wouldn't we have designed things so that we benefit the most? And wouldn't it be 90% of homeless? Are women and 10% were men? Wouldn't it be 65% of college attendees are men, not women? This guy fails the think for himself test big time. What an idiot. It was subtle but profound. It's subtle because it's not true, you moron. And feminism showed that men of color and queer men experience the world differently than the straight white men who dominate MRA groups and assume all men are fundamentally the same and like them. Yeah, because they have different cultures, you meathead. I realized all the arguments about male oppression I had bought into were weak. You are weak. Your mind is weak. You lack the ability to think for yourself. You'll go whichever way the wind blows. And all the evidence I needed was in feminism. You gotta love these 2 pictures. One of a guy, one of a woman with fists of power coming out of their mouths. I'd like to fist you morons. I discovered Reddit, which is a hotbed of men's rights activism around 2009, but luckily by then, I was already moving away from the movement and becoming a woman. Good for me, and I cry whenever I want, and I can bake, and I sew, too. And I took up knitting, and I've got 27 cats. A lot of the stuff there was elementary anyway. My transformation didn't happen overnight, though. There was really an aha moment, but more of a progression. There wasn't an aha moment. I see. I had to deconstruct all the MRA beliefs, which thankfully the feminists had already done for you. Yes, deconstructionism is one of the tenets of the left, deconstructing their opponents' beliefs and countering them with propaganda and dogma for those who can't think for themselves. My classmates shuddered every time I opened my mouth. I would write these pro-men's arguments that I thought made sense, and my instructors would say, that's a tautology. At one point, I made the argument that metrosexualism was oppressive to men, that it was an attempt to feminize us because we were too hairy. Well, it's definitely an attempt to feminize us. That's what's been happening for the past 30, 40 years. Because we weren't good enough as we were. Of course, one of my female peers turned to me, lifted up her skirt, and said, I shave my legs every day. Don't talk to me about the cosmetics industry oppressing men. Well, don't shave your legs then, honey. So many men are attracted to you. See, this is all about trying to socially engineer people. It's all about trying to engineer people and their wants, but everything, all that stuff's biological. We men don't like other men. So the things that are traits that are generally associated with men, of course we're not going to like them. We don't want a woman with hairy legs. You want to grow hairy legs? You can try to socially engineer men for fucking 100 years. They're still not going to like women with hairy fucking legs, you dummy. I shave my legs every day. Bullshit, you don't shave your legs every day, honey. Men have to shave their faces every day, but what woman has to shave her legs every day? Get the fuck out of here. That bitch was lying to you. Don't you know anything about women? They only have to shave their legs maybe once a week. They don't shave them every day, you dummy, you. She's just trying to make herself seem equally victimized as you are because you do have to shave your face every day. The dumb cunt. I ended up enrolling in a master's program for sociology. Oh, my God. Sociology is nothing more than the teaching of socialism from the Frankfurt School. They invented the fucking thing. Oh, my God. Oh, this idiot. And by the end of my first semester, I realized I knew nothing. He's been cooked now. He's been indoctrinated. Fool. From there, it was a slow process of building. Yeah. Poor bastard. I finished my master's program in 2011, and in 2012, I started publicly identifying as a feminist. He's so stupid. Now I'm a sociology PhD candidate at the University of Victoria. Wonderful. You are going to get your PhD in communism. Good for you. Something totally useless. My focus is still on men. Well, not useless. It's useful in destroying cultures and destroying countries. It's good for that. You should go live in Venezuela, buddy. See how things are going there. A lot of equality there now. Everybody's equally poor. Idiot. My focus is still on men. That much hasn't changed since my MRA days. Then why are you calling yourself a feminist, you idiot? Oh, that's right. You think it's about men and women being equal, but why is it called feminism then? Why wouldn't it be called equalism or something, you idiot? Why didn't it be called a neutral term? Are you so dumb that you can't see that the name itself identifies the fact that this is a group biased toward women and giving women as much as it can, you idiot? Despite my best efforts, I'm an idealist and honestly, truly believe sociology can mean active discipline and activist discipline. It sure can. I'll agree with you there. It's what you're being an activist for that's important. It can teach young people how our society constructs inequality. Oh, God. There's no systematic racism, sexism going on, you moron. That's why all these people have to point to this stuff like implicit bias and all this shit and these little ghosts living in your head that you have this implicit bias you're not aware of because they can't point to any actual system that's biased. It can teach young people how our society constructs inequality. Oh, please. Bullshit. It just teaches them how to identify certain parts of society and then deconstruct those and then rebuild them in a socialist narrative way, going by the socialist narrative. So it's all about essentially locking on, focusing, aiming on those aspects of a culture that you want to destroy and then reconstruct. And once we start down that road, we can do something about it. You sure can. You can destroy the world, you dumb motherfucker. There's some MRAs who claims men's rights is akin to feminism. But that's incorrect. The men's rights movement has always been anti-feminist. First, men's issue. Second, anti-feminist. The men's rights movement is a lost cause. I'm not even going to address them. Every time I look back at the men's rights movement, all I see is negativity. And yet it's exactly like feminism, and you identify yourself as a feminist. I guess you don't see that. What a moron. Rage, hate, bitterness, fear. That's feminism. Why are you identified as a feminist? I mean, if they're both the same, then you're also full of rage, hate, bitterness, fear. You're following an ideology that pushes these things. If they're no different, then what the fuck? Then you're wrong to be a feminist too, you idiot. But I don't feel ashamed of my time in it. I don't even know that I regret it because without it, I might not have ended up where I am now. Oh, God. Oh, you poor bastard. It turned me on to the study of men and eventually to feminism. Dude, look at the fucking word. Female, feminism, Feminist? It's not the study of men, you idiot! I've been dating the same woman since 2004, and oh God, I must have gotten on her nerves back then. So this is the story of a man who says he started out as an MRA and ended up a feminist because, unfortunately, he was weak-minded. He probably had a single mother raising him, probably had a pussy daddy, so he didn't get what you would call a strong moral compass, a strong sense of self. He didn't know who he was. He didn't develop his own strong moral and ethical foundation, so he was very easily swayed by the ideas of others, and he didn't learn very key skills like critical thinking, and it's clear to this day he doesn't have strong logic, reasoning, or critical thinking skills. And this is what you get when you feminize a country. When you feminize a country, then you get feminized teachers who pump out feminized kids who lack logic, lack reasoning, lack critical thinking, and are very easily indoctrinated. They'll go wherever the wind is blowing them. They'll go wherever, whatever they are introduced to, they'll go with that. He was introduced to men's rights by a book, and he just followed that. He was very fervent about it. Yeah, this seems right to me. Yeah, he got so passionate about it. And then when he got exposed to feminism, I'm passionate about that now. This guy will just go wherever the wind blows him, whatever benefits him the most. It's a sad but true narrative of men these days. I am the MGTOW philosopher, and I wish you a good day. Take care.